Thank you for inviting me on this day to join.
Little louder.
Yeah, I will make it. I have deliberately chosen this medium of a written speech mainly because we can avoid misunderstandings when the performance of railways is navigating through a challenging phase. All railway class and services, including IRAS, are now impacted. At such a juncture, I thought I should avoid any miscommunication, especially when we are talking with the members of my own club. Dear friends, most of the observation that I make is purely personal. The only point that I want to make is that it is time for us to introspect. My idea is to be of assistance to the IRAS Association to set an agenda at a time when the credibility of this service needs to be enhanced. Nothing is lost, it has to be enhanced. In the meantime, the team headed by Mr. Sivadasan, along with Vaidilingam, Mr. V.V. Verma, and now Mr. Mahapatra, are collectively doing a good job. Even in a year, one of the toughest years, when the economy has almost turned its back on you, the railways have made a reasonably good EBIT and net surplus. That is a big achievement. At a time when, 10 years ago, I remember that we were carrying continuously for 4 to 5 years 60 million tons as incremental volume. At this moment, we are struggling even for 10 million tons extra, that is as an incremental volume. But even in this year, when you have an operating ratio of 92, there are several things which are not told to you people. That is, had the railways been corporatized and listed in the market, what would have happened? The railways would have been in the famous Fortune 500, that is global list of Fortune 500. With 24 billion US dollars equivalent of revenues and 1.2 billion dollars of profit, net profit after paying dividends, you have created something which is a creditable achievement. Now, we all talk about SNCF. Yes, SNCF is also in that list with 32 billion US dollars of revenue and a loss of 2 billion. They hold a higher rank, it is a fact. Then another railway, East Japan Railways, from where we are going to now borrow the lessons about high-speed rail. They make slightly lesser than us, that is 23.8 billion US dollars revenue and 2 billion US, only 2 billion US dollars net profit. Same is the case with the Union Pacific, the famous railroad which carries freight. They are also lower than that. So, the only thing that stands in the way between the getting into the list, Fortune Global 500 list, is that Indian Railways have not yet been corporatized and it has not been listed, like IOC or SBA. IR's profit margin is roughly about 5%. The number one rank in the global list is Walmart. I can't number that. It is in several lakhs of crores, equivalent of that. In billions also, it is in 3-digit billions. What is the profit margin of Walmart? 5%. Why? Because Walmart is an organization which does business with the bottom of the pyramid, bottom of the economic pyramid of USA and many other countries. This is a phrase, bottom of the economic pyramid, was used by President Theodore Roosevelt. What about Indian Railways? We also do business with the bottom of the economic pyramid of India. 91% of the total PKMs that you are selling is earmarked only for second class travelers. Only 9% tickets, 9% of journeys and 9% of your PKM is sold for the upper class, in spite of the fact that the Indian society, the middle class has swelled into that to such an extent. We have a middle class which is almost about 20% of our population. Now, when we say that the performance of the railways is not so good, even at 92% of the operating, why should people talk like that? Are we really doing badly? Not at all, according to the international standards. There are certain myths about the performance standards. I will come to that subject a little later. Now, why is it that the people are so critical of us? I have one reason to see that is, once in a decade, there is a tendency for the governments to appoint an expert committee, mostly comprising of persons who are not belonging to railways, but outsiders. Yes, it is good to listen to outsiders also. Then they do make recommendations which so far I have seen Rakesh Mohan committee and the Devrai committee. So they make recommendations which generally which are generally of the same nature if you look at it closely. One point that they will tell us is that railways have multiple engineering departments, traffic department separately and finance department separately. They tend to work in silos. Are we working in silos? Yes. When there is a rail wheel interaction on the track, if you want to increase your speeds from 130 kmph today to 160 kmph, you will have to necessarily consult the track people, that the track engineers, and when your rolling stock is to be upgraded to the higher speeds, you will have to consult mechanical as well as the electrical departments. So by taking their opinion, they may express certain views of their own. That means when you are raising the speeds to 160 kmph, your cant will have to be elevated. An elevated cant for a higher speed train may be good, but it will not be good for a heavy haul freight train that follows. We have raised the axle loads from 20.5, as you know, to 22.5. So their views will have to be taken into consideration. There may be delays. There may be various processes will have to be followed. Otherwise, you can have problems like what we have faced very recently. So in that case, the opinions expressed by Environment Ministry, opinions expressed by Finance Ministry when we move certain proposals, can you say that is it a silo working or is it a freedom given to those departments to give the clearances to the best of their beliefs after removing several defects in the code or certain processes which have to be completed? This is one thing that is said against us. Two, railways do not know commercial account. Therefore, their traffic and planning directorates are not able to achieve business focus. We have an excellent costing system. Our accounting system is generally considered to be very good. I think during our time, when Mr. Shundu was the Controller General of India, had appointed IRAS for a study to be conducted about Indian Railway accounting system, their defense accounting system, as well as the postal system. And IRAS has given a very good report about the railways. That's what I know. And then he, in fact, congratulated us, saying that the railways are following the procedures correctly as far as accounting aspects are concerned. Now, the third thing about what is said is that again and again they are saying that. Say, when I was recently, there is a good program which is conducted by a eminent person called Maithili in Economic Times Now. she invited two people. When she was inviting me, she said that I am inviting my batchmate, Mr. Vivek Devra. Subject is railway budget, abolition of railway budget. So you two people will be talking about this. I went there. We had a good talk about these matters, and Maithili conducts it so well. But only thing is that Vivek Rai twice he said that one about the accounting system, that is, your accounting system does not match with the commercial sector, commercial organization like that. Two is that your costing is not good. These are not really correct, but I do not know who had briefed them in this wrong way. That is up to the organization, your association, to find out as to what you should do about this. I would request you to correct this impression. First, you start reading from Constitution, Article 150. It is the CAG who lays down the architecture of the accounting system for every department of the government, including railways, defence, or any other system. Finally, your accounts will go and merge with the government of India's accounts. So, whatever architecture that he has laid down, you can't deviate much. Of course, you can improve a lot, which the job is being done very eminently by my friend, the present advisor, accounting reforms. Then the third point that they always make is that railway board need to be restructured. There is always a confusion about it. You want the railway business model to be restructured, or you want the railway board to be restructured? It is actually the railway board business model that they follow, which will need a thorough relook, as well as if at all there has to be a major modification, it is in that, rather than shuffling the members or calling somebody as member this or member that. It won't, I don't know whether it will improve the efficiency of the railways, but all the committees are always very sure about the fact that your railway board needs to be changed. It has to be retired, it has to 2-tier, 3-tier, and all kinds of things, and then finally separate the ministry. The ministry was given other ways to separate. When Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav was functioning there, Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, the two other junior ministers, and Sudhir Kumar formed the ministry part of it, we formed the board part of it. Then the fourth point that they make is that give them 10 lakh crore or a little more also. Yes, money, yes. Expert committees, have they ever made out, at least have they asked some assistants to make what you call a master plan for the railways as to how this has to be spent? You know, the railway boards after 2000, including Mr. Sivadasan who is sitting here, all of them, their boards have done a wonderful job between 2000 and 2004. Before we could reach the board, that board has done a wonderful thing by rehabilitating and reinvigorating the railway track system. The entire infrastructure has been reinvigorated by them in such a way that during our time we were able to run traffic with 10 tons more per wagon, which was nearly about 6,000 crore in a year as additional. We could run longer trains also. So all those the jobs that we could do, 60 million tons more every year as incremental traffic, these are all we should due to the excellent job done by those railway boards. Now, when we come to one more point, what the journalists tell us is that the governments cannot find money for money. If the money cannot be found from the treasury, think of PPPs. Yeah, we have been talking about PPPs for the last 10 years. The only problem is that the private partners who are intending to participate do not know where to start, and we do not know how to tell them that where to start and which area will be open up for them for starting their investments. Now you take the case of the funds. Do we have a shortage of funds? I don't really think so. you can borrow through IRAS. You can raise enough funds for if you want to change the killer coaches, the jackknifing coaches of ICF with LSD coaches. You can always do it. You can raise this numbers, but some reports are always generated in the newspaper. I do not know what is the source of that. The government should also be worried about it. That some people say that it will take another 30 years to do this. I don't think so. We have developed enough OEMs. We have the money, and if you want to even convert most of the production base in ICF into the LSB system, you can always do it. But somehow, again, the mindset is not changing. This is what we will have to achieve. There is one area where your association also should be worried about, because most of the general observations that we finance in making files will have to see that if the minister has, you've got one of the finest ministers that you can ever hope to get. And after Mr. Trivedi, Dinesh Trivedi, who almost made a great breakthrough but could not proceed further, this one gentleman should be in a position to do some very, very good job for us. Therefore, we have to take him very seriously. And when he has made a budgetary commitment saying that I will switch over to LSD coaches as fast as possible, it is our duty to ensure that such kind of promises given in the budget will have to be kept up. Now I will come to the need of raising the revenues. For turning around the railways, there is no other method available except raise the top line. That is your revenues. Now, coal is undergoing a great change. We call it a skin coal, because there is about 30% of your income, 30% of your volume that you move comes from coal. With the emergence of solar power and its ability to bring down the cost per kilowatt hour in solar power generation, coal will have a threat. And coal, right now it is plateauing out. It will again make a jump the moment we complete those three very important lines, one in Jharkhand, another is in Chhattisgarh, third one is in Orissa. We will get about nearly 300 million tons more, that is about 25,000 crore extra income that would have come. We ourselves, like the boards which were there in position from 2010 to 2014, did not take that much of interest in getting these lines completed, because there was also objection from the Environment Ministry. We could have chosen some other technology also. If you can't take it at grade, can we not go on an elevated track system? We can. And if that is not possible, even underground system should have been considered, provided the coal that is available in that particular area, in that particular mine, is capable of sustaining its generation of volumes and revenues for us for maybe about 15-20 years. This has not been examined. This kind of thinking will have to go. Coal will ultimately plateau out and then reduce, and in replacement of that, there is only one system that can compete with that is the passenger system. Passenger system is another, the coal is giving us 30%, now passenger system will give us another 30%. It is our duty, it should be our objective to increase the presence of passenger business model. Achieving an expanded role. Then I would like to point out only one thing before I leave this place, is that there are certain myths in which we believe. One myth is about the operating ratio of the railways. Nobody is bothered about the freight business and passenger business services that are sharing one and the same track. I have recently seen some graphs being made out saying that American railroads do have an operating ratio of 75. What about Indian Railways? Have you ever made an attempt to work out the operating ratio of Indian Railways freight? That is also 25 to 30%. On the back of a small piece of paper, you can write down that if we are all telling the whole world that the loss arising out of passenger business is 25,000 crore, even a child should know the earnings of the railways plus the 25,000 crore added to that should be the working expenses of your passenger business. From the total passenger, from the total operating expenses, if you deduce that amount, you will get the operating expenses of the freight. If you compare that with the, work out the operating ratio with the freight, your freight revenue makes a clean profit of about 30%, 25-30%. The loss is in passenger business, that is about 150%. The operating ratio is 150%. You have taken the pains to compare with the American railroads, only the freight railroads, and not American government-run Amtrak railways, which carries the passengers. Amtrak is on a loss of 140%. Operating ratio is 140%, loss of about say 40% we can see. So the right comparison we are not made. In Indian, why is it that we always project that the performance of the railways, Indian railways is bad and the performance of other railways is good? I can tell you, in India, when you are running both passenger business and freight business, you cannot expect an operating ratio below 90%. So with 92% what you are doing today, it is an excellent job, but I do not know, not many people seem to be appreciative of the performance of you. Then the next myth is about, people will say that our this business share, market share is not increasing. Indian Railways, the way in which we work out the market share, I am not fully convinced. Overall truck movements, what is moved between the warehouses that are in the fringe area of Delhi into the city, that also will be counted as tonnage moved by road. In long distance traffic, how much we are moving? That much of traffic, is it being moved by a road? I am not very sure. The studies made so far do not distinguish between short-lived road traffic and the long-lived road traffic, and unless this is clearly made, revealed, we will not be in a position to say that what is the market share that we do have. Then one more thing about, one more myth is Indian Railways is overstaffed. I was doing a study on this. Overall Indian Railways, we are carrying, so I take, what is the number of journeys performed in a year? Make it into a daily statement. That means 24 million journeys are being performed every day. We have about 1.3 million people. So the number of journeys handled by railmen per day per employee is roughly about 70 to 80. France carries the same number, 18. Germany carries the same number. America, Amtrak carries only 4.5 passengers per day per man. And UK, about which we are also, we always refer to UK, the privatized rail system, UK carries 40 people per day per employee. Now go to Western Rail and Central Rail, how they perform. Western Railway and Central Railway also do carry 40 people per day per employee. In other places, it may be low in other zonal railways, but other zonal railways like East Coast Railway will be carrying higher tonnage because the freight is also being carried by the same employee, handled by same employees. So if UK is asked to handle Indian Railways 8,400 million, a number of journeys that is performed, they will need at least about 6 lakhs employees. For freight, at the moment we are carrying 2.5 tons per employee per day. If we can raise this further, but at this level you will need at least about 4 lakh people to handle that. So 1 million in any case is not going to be eliminated. The rest of it is on account of RPF. Why do I need it? The crime rates are quite high. People who are trespassing into my systems are quite high. Animals trespassing into my systems are quite high. My job of running trains every day requires more and more manpower. We can gradually reduce it as we go further ahead during the next 5 years or so. We may be able to reduce a bit, but not much of a change will be there. And therefore, please do not spread the canard saying that our wage bill is so high. The wage bill is not going to come down. You will have to only try to increase the revenue. How to earn more revenue? Improve the top line, automatically your bottom line also will improve. So with these words, I close this communication with you. IRAS officers, my dear friends, you are doing well, and I understand being politically correct may not always be a sin, but being intellectually and professionally correct is a virtue. Wish you a very good year ahead. Thank you.